Hello! Howdy! Hi, everybody. Sam Goodman. Really fucking scary stories. We're coming to you from the beautiful and the sunny and the spooky downtown Phoenix, Arizona, here in the Pale Horse Media Co. studios. Man, I love it here. I love the studio. We need to do a studio tour one of these days. I have like a really wacky collection of all kinds of shit. I think I've shared that, but I mean, I've got like books and just cool artwork and creepy and macabre things and everything kind of sort of in between, and like a ton of Buddhas. That's one weird little thing that I collect. I collect all kinds of little Buddhas. I got all that kind of stuff. Buddhas and fugglers. And if you don't know what a fuggler is, you should know what the first one is. But if you don't know what the second one is, go Google fugglers. They're just super cool. Me and my daughter, like, we love collecting fugglers. I've got this beautiful thing that I'm staring at right in front of me, which is this beautiful print of the Black Mariah. And if you don't know what the Black Mariah is, it is the horse-drawn hearse that had a cowboy for breakfast every single day in the beautiful and the lovely and the quaint Tombstone, Arizona. If you want to hear us hanging out in Tombstone, you can go back to season 1 and check that out. But do me a favor. This is the Pale Horse Media Co. Studios, so do me just a little itty-bitty favor and head over to www.palehorsemedia.co. You can listen to this podcast. You can listen to all of our other ones like The Hot Nerd and Hey Y'all with Sam Goodman. And I tell you all the time, we've got a really sweet, really cool, really epic merch store there. I'm a nerd for good t-shirts. I know I say it all the time. I just can't say it enough, though, because I just hate shitty t-shirts. I just hate them. Look, I'm all for crop tops. I will rock the crop top, muffin top all day long as that's what the t-shirt is meant to be. But I hate t-shirts that you get and you wash and then they just freaking disintegrate, or they turn into like a piece of cardboard, or they come up above your belly button, and then they're just, you get like one and done. They're like disposable t-shirts, and those suck. So all the stuff we have in the merch store are not those, I guess, is what I'm saying. Also, head over and follow along with us on all things social media. You can check out the Pale Horse Media Co. YouTube channel. You can check out the Hot Nerd YouTube channel. We're on Instagram. Just search Sam U. Goodman. I'll come up as Sam the Hot Nerd. If you're a LinkedInite, you can go check me out on LinkedIn. Search Sam Goodman. You'll find me there. And again, pages for all the different podcasts we talk about. This podcast, Pale Horse Media Co., my personal stuff. It's all out there. Sorry, I'm smacking my mic. I'm getting a little boom, little rave going on in here. But go check out all of that stuff. And on the websites, we have those handy dandy contact forms. So if you had a brush with the paranormal, a touch of true crime in your life, or just had something really fucking scary or really strange or really just unexplainable happen to you, we would love to hear your stories, your ghost stories, your true crime stories. Insert all the above here. We would love to hear about it. We can tell that strange tale on the podcast, or we can have you on to share your experience. Or if you just got stuff that you want to add for Q&A or just comments or just anything like that, again, use the handy dandy contact forms on the website, or you can head over to sugoodman.com, use that one as well, or you can slide into the DMs of any of our stuff. As I've said, as we always say, picking up a t-shirt, picking up a hat, grabbing some stickers, doing whatever, that stuff helps us a ton. That's a great way to show some support, show some love for the show. But one of the best way, the best way that you can show us the ultimate amount of ooey gooey squishy love is by just scrolling down, giving us some stars, writing us a review. If you've read any of the books that I've published, going over to Amazon.com, reviewing those books. Safety Sucks, that's one of them, and Obscured, the pursuit of radical self-acceptance. I think that's it. I can't even remember my own books, but if you go over, pick those things up, leave us a review on those help us a ton. But the best way is just giving us some stars, writing us a review on a podcast, sharing it with your friends, your family, your frenemies, telling people about it. Just at work, be like, oh yeah, while I'm sitting here pretending to work, what I'm actually doing is listening to really fucking scary stories. And so should you. That stuff helps us way more than you can imagine. It quite literally keeps the power flowing to the studio here. It powers all this wacky podcast equipment that we use, and it helps us to continue to bring you this content at a regular speed. It allows us to make the seasons better, make the audio quality better. It allows us to reach a wider audience, and ultimately that's a good thing for all of us. It keeps this freaky deaky podcast going. It lets us continue to talk about all things horror, all things macabre, all things creepy, crawly, and everything else in between. And speaking of those really fucking scary stories that we like to tell, we have a great one for you today, an excellent one for you today. We have the real story of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the story of Ed Gein. Edward Theodore Gein, born August 27th, 1906, a.k.a. the Butcher of Plainfield, or the Plainfield Ghoul, was an American convicted murderer and body snatcher. That's a term that you don't hear around very much. A fucking body snatcher. Gein's crimes, committed around his hometown of Plainfield, Wisconsin, gathered widespread notoriety in 1957 after authorities discovered he had exhumed corpses from local graveyards and fashioned trophies and, keepsakes, a little Ed Gein keychain, that kind of stuff. He just made some little keepsakes from their bones and skin. He also confessed to killing 2 women, a tavern owner, Mary Hogan, in 1954, and a hardware store owner, Bernice Worden, in 1957. Ed Gein inspired, you guessed it, you know it, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So he was a notorious killer and grave robber, aka body snatcher. And as we said, his activities, the stuff he had going on in his little trinkets and little keepsakes, inspired the creation of some of Hollywood's most famous characters. Not only the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but Norman Bates of Psycho. So Ed Gein grew up in a repressive household dominated by a controlling mother. I don't know. Serial killers seem to have these kind of mommy issues going on. We talked a lot about serial killers and just fucking psychopaths. And, let's just say nature v. nurture. Like, nurture's kind of fucking important, it seems. So don't be dickheads to your kids, I guess is what I'm saying. Following her death in 1945, his mental health disintegrated after Gein was apprehended as a suspect in a 1957 murder. The investigation of his home yielded a highly disturbed man who kept human organs and fashioned clothing and accessories out of body parts. You heard that right, and we'll get there. He spent the rest of his life institutionalized, and as we said, his story fueled tons of famous, I guess infamous, movie characters. Norman Bates, we said. We talked about Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but also Buffalo Bill from The Silence of the Lambs. Edward Theodore Gein was born on August 27th, 1906 in La Crosse, Wisconsin, the son of George, a timid alcoholic father, and Augusta, a fanatically religious mother. Gein grew up alongside his older brother Henry in a household ruled by his mother's puritanical preachings about sin, of lust, and carnal desires. Around 1915, Augusta moved the family to a farm outside of Plainfield, Wisconsin. Gein rarely left the farm except to go to school. After George died in 1947, Gein and Henry began working more odd jobs to support the family. In 1944, the brothers were burning brush on the property when the fire raged out of control. Henry was found dead, and although it was initially believed to be the result of the fire, the circumstances surrounding his death, as well as Gein's later activities, suspicious, and we're kind of getting there, led to conjecture that the younger brother was responsible. He was obsessively devoted to his mother. Gein never left home or dated women. However, after she died in 1945, he became increasingly deranged. Now living alone, he left her room neat and untouched, while the rest of the home fell into squalor, just into disorder and nastiness, and he developed an interest in anatomy books. Gein managed to support himself as a handyman, and despite his odd behavior, a fucking babysitter. So imagine being like, the dude that had people trinkets was my babysitter. Meanwhile, a few residents from the general area had mysteriously disappeared over the years. Among them was Mary Hogan, who ran the tavern, as we mentioned, in a nearby town, Pine Grove, that Gein regularly frequented. On November 16th, 1957, Bernice Worden was reported missing from her hardware store in Plainfield, with the cash register also gone and a trail of blood leading out of the back. Her son Frank, a deputy sheriff, was suspicious of Gein, and the reclusive man was soon apprehended at a neighbor's house. The authorities sent to Gein's home that night were greeted by the gruesome sight of Worden's headless, gutted body, so like a deer here, hanging from the ceiling. Further investigation yielded more shocking discoveries, including organs in jars and skulls used as soup bowls. Great. Just Just wonderful. Just, put a little tomato soup in there to go with your people grilled cheese, or, just a little Cap'n Crunch. Just a little Captain Crunch in there and a skull. Yeah, great stuff. Under questioning, Geen confessed to the killing of Worden and Hogan 3 years earlier. Additionally, he admitted to digging up numerous corpses for cutting off body parts, practicing necrophilia, and fashioning masks and suits out of the skin to wear around the home. Just little pieces of trinkets, little pieces of people fashion. He just made people fashion. He was just upcycling, right? He was just upcycling people. I mean, he was just like, oh, this fucking face is going to go to waste. Why not put that face on my face and I can have a sweet mask? Let me just peel these feet off and make feet footies. It's just upcycling, right? Ed Gein was just a pioneer in upcycling. Gein's lawyer, William Bettler, entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity, and in January 1958, Gein was found unfit to stand trial. He was committed to Central State Hospital, where he worked as a mason, as a carpenter's assistant, and even as a medical center aide. So let's pause here and recap, because that's sort of kind of what we do around here. So, as we know, serial killers, nature v. nurture, right? It seems like nurture is super duper important. He grew up in a super repressive household with a hyper religious mother that was super duper interested in being like, you shall not be a sinner, the sins of this world, blah, 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 blah. So, I say that extreme religious fanaticism probably played a role in that. His father was a kind of a timid alcoholic. So it's just not good. Then his brother dies under mysterious circumstances, like post fire, and then people kind of start scratching their heads going, what the fuck is here? Then some people go missing, and then Geen is suspected by one of the missing person's brothers, who then takes him into custody, and just a little bit of investigation there. And you don't have to do much investigation when you find a gutted corpse hanging from the ceiling in someone's house, and you find people trinkets, and you find masks made out of faces, which is, again, Ed Gein upcycling. But in early 1968, Geen was determined to be fit to finally stand trial. That November, he was found guilty of the murder of Worden. However, he was also found insane at the time of the murder, and as such, he was recommitted to Central State Hospital. He attempted to petition for release in 1974. I was 10 years off, 1974, which was, you guessed it, rejected. The mild-mannered Geen made virtually no news while institutionalized. Later that decade, his health was failing. He was transferred to the Mendota Mental Health Institute, where he died of cancer and respiratory illness on July 26, 1984. So the story of Gein's gruesome activities, particularly his devotion to his dead mother, that strongly influenced Psycho, right, which was adapted to the big screen for the following year by the one, the only, the amazing Alfred Hitchcock. And additionally, he served as the inspiration for other just notorious movie villains, as we said, Buffalo Bill, Leatherface, and he's been referenced in tons and tons and tons of songs over the years. So he stayed quite relevant in popular culture. But let's just get back to the people bits, because you can see, so the devotion from his mother, that goes to the Psycho thing. The people bits, the face stuff, the fucking weird things, just that goes right there to Leatherface, obviously. But let's talk about this. Let's talk about what was found in the house when authorities searched it. So let's talk Ed Gein's Guide to Upcycling, whole human bones and fragments, a wastebasket made out of human skin that covered several chair seats, skulls on his bedposts, female skulls, some with the top stones off, bowls, as we mentioned, made out of human skulls, a corset made from a female torso skinned from shoulders to waist, lovely, leggings made from human skin, masks made from the skin of female heads, Mary Hogan's face mask in a paper bag, so he just kept it in a little baggie just when he wanted to throw it on, Mary Hogan's skull in a box, Bernice Woodard's entire head in a burlap sack, so he hadn't got around to working his magic on that one, it doesn't seem like yet, Bernice Woodard's heart in a plastic bag in front of Ed Gein's pot-belly stove, so he might have been saving it for a little snack later, 9 vulva in a shoebox, a young girl's dress, and the values of the vulvas, I guess that's valuable, the vulvas of 2 females judged to have been about 15 years old, a belt made from female human nipples, 4 noses, a pair of lips on a window shade drawstring, a lampshade